5.
Happy Friday, everyone. We made it through another week. Yes, congratulations to you. I am proud of each and every one of you. We're here. One thing great about a Friday, we got a lot of sports coming up over the weekend. Yes, boy, do we have a lot to go over today. We already have something happening as we speak. Now, I will say, no baseball today. Unfortunate as it is, the wild card round is over. We had game 3 last night between the Mets and the Brewers. Honestly, that was a pretty good game 3. But you have the Mets doing what they've been doing over the past, 3 games now, is having one good inning and moving on. That's all the playoffs are about, is survive the game and move on. Win that series. However it happens. I don't care if you play one good inning. I don't care if you have 2 base hits. If you win the game, there you go. That's all you need. It's the playoffs. Not many things matter other than winning in the playoffs. So we will talk a lot about baseball that happened last night. Look forward to the Divisional series, which will be beginning tomorrow. Also, beginning today is hockey season. Yes, the NHL is back today. Game number 1 of the season was today. Now, I will say it's not everybody back just yet. There are still preseason games happening. But this game between the Devils and the Sabres does count towards the regular season. Do you remember at the beginning of the baseball season, all the way back at the beginning of the year? I know it's October now. Just use the memory a little bit. Think back when the Padres and the Dodgers played overseas. I believe that was in South Korea, where they played a series while spring training was still going on in the States, but the games that they were playing counted towards the regular season. Pretty much the same thing here in the NHL. The Devils and the Sabres, they are playing overseas, I believe, and I don't have this in front of me, but I believe it was in Prague where they were having that game to start the season. I don't know if I hate it. I don't know if I like it. I really don't think it matters all that much. There's so many other things happening in the world of sports that I don't think people are really concerned with how the NHL is starting their season. We got the end of baseball to deal with, end of the WNBA to deal with. I know it's not really on the docket, but nobody really paying attention to the NHL right now and what they do to start their season, because there are still preseason games remaining here in the NHL. So we won't talk too much about hockey yet. That's going to be a next week conversation as things pick up. Now, also next week, we're going to speak with South Iredell High School football coach, and a couple of players over there will be joining us in the studio to talk about the season that they are having. We're going to get into South Iredell football and other schools around the area, as today is Friday night. Friday night lights going on. High school football season right around the halfway point. Some teams over it, some teams getting to it. But we are right around the halfway point in the high school football season. I know it happens so fast. It really does. It feels like we just started talking about these things. But anyway, something happening right now is the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series from Talladega. 20 laps into the event already. And we are at the end of stage 1. Now, when I see who won that stage, I'll let you know. But the Truck Series is on right now. Tomorrow, you're going to have Xfinity Series racing from Talladega. And then, obviously, Sunday is the big show with the Cup Series, race number 2 of round number 2. We'll get into the NASCAR season a little bit later on in the program. But what we're going to do to start the day, and we're going to begin our discussion in the world of high school football, because it is a Friday night. The weather is beautiful. We are going to have a lot of good football games going on, starting with Statesville High School coming off of a win against East Lincoln, a very big win for them. They'll be taking on Ford High School today. That's a road game for Statesville. They actually have a couple of road games before they come back home. We talked a little bit about that last week. On the road against Ford High School, game time at 7:30. We got a ways to go yet. Still about 2.5 hours or so before that one kicks off. So if you're interested in making the trip to Ford High School, it is a little bit of a trip. Newton, North Carolina, it's a little bit of a trip. But if you're interested in that, 7:30 later on tonight. Some of the other Iredell schools, we talked about South Iredell. They'll be joining us next week. Well, they are also on the road today, taking on Hickory Ridge High School. Hickory Ridge is 0-6 so far this year. It is a conference game for South Iredell and a good chance to stay undefeated in the conference. They started it out with a win, 1-0 going into this week, 3-2 overall, which is definitely not bad. Losing 6-0 to Statesville. That was a close game. And, Porter Ridge, the road game they played, second game of the year, they did get handled in that one pretty easily, but early in the season, we don't look too much into it. Non-conference game. Like I say, as long as you win those conference games, you're going to be in a good playoff spot come the end of the regular season. So South Iredell playing Hickory Ridge on the road tonight at 7 o'clock. West Iredell has a 500 record to start the year. They are on the road. All of these directional Iredell schools and even Statesville on the road this week, it seems. Taking on East Lincoln at 7:30. We said East Lincoln coming off of that loss to Statesville High School. Well, they are 3-2 on the year, winning record, but those two losses are their only two conference games this year. That's tough. That's tough. You win the non-conference, but you're losing the conference games. That's tough. They got to turn it around. Does East Lincoln, if they want any chance at really a playoff spot at the end of the year, taking on West Iredell later on tonight. North Iredell also has a winning record, 3-2. And the good thing about that is they are winning their conference games, starting the year 2-0. Now, they do not play today. They're actually going to be playing on Monday on the road at North Lincoln. I believe this one was rescheduled from last week. I could be wrong about that. I thought that game was scheduled for last week. Unfortunately, with me being out of town, I kind of lost track of what it was supposed to be, and now I can just see what it is. So anyway, that is a game that'll be going on Monday. We'll talk more about that on Monday. And as for a little bit farther south of us, the Lake Norman Wildcats starting the year 4-1. That one loss came to Statesville in the second game of the season. We did talk about that one a little bit, as that was a 3A beating a 4A. Pretty interesting when that happens, in my opinion. But a good start to the season for Lake Norman. They are going to be on the road tonight at West Cabarrus, taking on West Cabarrus, who is 2-4. Lake Norman 4-1. And Mooresville High School also sitting at 4-1. Their next game is tonight against Providence High School on the road, 7 o'clock in that game as well. We got to head to our first commercial break on this Friday. We got a lot more in store for you today. Don't go anywhere. When we return, we'll talk a little baseball. I'll update you on the NASCAR Truck Series race, and we'll talk more things in the world of sports. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We are back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, for the first time in a long time, we don't really have much to talk about in the weather department. And boy, isn't that nice. Mainly dry for a long time. Partly cloudy. We're up around 80 this afternoon, falling back into the mid-60s overnight. Our weekend is a dry one, but it's a warm and humid one, too. With temperatures around 80, if not some low 80s both days. But if you've been in search of that crisp fall air, it's on the way early next week. It arrives by Tuesday. That's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. Meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses like Nina's Boutique.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Brookdale Village in Huntersville presents their free concert series Live Under the Oaks on Friday. The Village is open all day for shopping and dining, with Ben Gatlin taking the stage powered by Waves Entertainment at 6 p.m. Bring your chairs and enjoy on-site beverages from Red Rocks. Live Under the Oaks with Ben Gatlin kicks off at 6 p.m. Friday. The popular Piedmont Healthcare Friday After 5 concert series offers free entertainment to residents, neighbors, and visitors in downtown Statesville. This Friday, the Megan Doss concert will be held on West Broad Street in front of Mitchell Community College from 6 p.m. to 8:30. Beer, wine, soft drinks, and food will be available for purchase beginning at 5 p.m. Bring your chairs and enjoy a night of music from country singer Megan Doss at Friday After 5 in downtown Statesville. NASCAR returns to Charlotte Motor Speedway for their annual fall weekend in October on the Roval. The Xfinity Series holds the Drive for the Cure 250 on Saturday, October 12th. The Cup Series competes in the Bank of America Roval 400 on Sunday, October 13th. Weekend ticket packages as well as daily tickets are available. Also check out deals for military service members, college students, suites, the Champions Pavilion, the Indoor Clubhouse, Terrace Box, 4-packs, and more. Don't miss any of the entertainment, including Eli Young Band and Tim Duggar concerts before racing's royalty duels for Roval supremacy. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for information, tickets, and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back! Saturdays and Sundays, October 5th through November 24th. Eat, drink, be merry at the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. Don't miss it!
Your Tuesdays just got a lot better. The Good Soul, a feel-good show that dives into the stories of extraordinary people, is headed to WSIC. Host Patty Alvarez brings a sit-down, fun conversation to the airwaves to give you an early week pick-me-up.
Nothing but the best talk.
The area's best talk.
WSIC.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Hope everyone's doing well. It is Friday. You should be doing well. Let's be honest about that. You're listening to the Scoreboard. We got about 42 minutes remaining on the program. So if you're interested in chatting with me, 844-STUDIO-4 is the phone number. Like I said, I'll be here until 6 o'clock. And I'm out of here for the weekend, as everybody should be. Well, most of you probably on the road heading back from work. It's 5:19. Yeah, so a lot of people probably just getting off of work. I saw that I-77, man. It's been so busy since the closure of 40. Everybody be careful out there, all right? Just take it easy. You'll get home eventually, I promise, as long as you take it easy. When we left, we were talking a little high school football, as we have quite a bit going on today. Pretty much, well, not every single school, but most of the schools in our local and immediate area are in action today, as it's Friday night. That's what you do on Friday nights, is you play high school football. There are other sports still in action. Yesterday we talked a little soccer, kept you updated on who's looking good in that scene. Volleyball as well going on. Golf, cross country, a couple of other sports as well that are currently taking place. So just know that if you're looking for high school sports, they are around, they are going on, and you can get involved probably. You can hang out and watch and support your local high school. I'm sure a lot of you graduating high schools around here still love to support them. So keep that in mind. We will continue to cover high school sports throughout the fall season, into the winter season, through the spring season, all year until we get to summer, and then everything's just kind of like, well, there's not much going on. Yeah, regular season baseball, yeah. Anyway, I did want to move on to baseball, as yesterday we had game number 3 between the Mets and the Brewers. Oh, boy. How do we put this? Well, the Brewers were good for a while. You know, they scored 2 in the 7th. It was a late 2 runs that they scored, but they got the 2 runs across the plate. And then in the top of the 9th, they blew it. That's about the only way I can see it, to be honest with you. The Mets score 4 in the top of the 9th inning to take the win, 4-2 over the Milwaukee Brewers. That pushes them into the NLDS, where they will be facing off against the Phillies on the road. That's going to be a good series. Mets-Phillies, that'll be a fun one. I'm definitely going to be tuning into those games. By the way, tomorrow starts those divisional round games, so keep that in mind. But before we get into that, just a few thoughts on the wild card round. I'm starting to grow to like it, I guess. It used to be a few years ago that the wild card round was a 1 game, you win it, and you're moving on to the divisional series. And I know, obviously, way back when it used to be, hey, if you win the American League, you're going to the World Series. Hey, if you win the National League, you're going to the World Series. Well, now we have this thing called playoffs. Why? Well, because it brings in a lot of money. And it's very entertaining. We cannot forget that aspect of it. The playoffs are entertaining. And I think that's exactly what we saw last night between the Mets and the Brewers. That was a good game. I mean, I know there wasn't much scoring in it except for the 2 half innings where we had runs come across the board. But it was still an entertaining game. Pitching is really good in baseball now. It's so much fun to watch those guys work. And good defense out there as well. But once things start happening and you get movement on the bases, that's when it's really intense, when you're in playoff baseball. So the Brewers were able to jump out to that 2-0 lead in the 7th. But like I said, in the top of the 9th, Mets score 4 runs before an out is even made. And who is the hero? Can anybody guess who the hero was? I know you know the name. Why do I know you know the name? Well, because he's been playing for a while. He's a home run derby champ. Yeah, it's Pete Alonso. Remember the talks of Pete Alonso getting traded early in the year? Yeah. He wasn't happy. The team was terrible. Team still is terrible, but I didn't say that. And now Pete Alonso hits a 3-run home run to save the Mets season as they move on to the NLDS. Now, I do think that the Phillies are going to win that series. I think we're heading straight for Dodgers-Phillies. I also think we're heading straight for Dodgers-Yankees in the World Series, which we all know baseball would absolutely roll around in the money and cry tears because of how much money they would be getting for a Dodger-Yankee World Series. But those are the 2 best teams the way I see it. I think I saw that the Dodgers are currently the betting favorite, which I don't care about that. I don't think that means they're actually the favorite. You know, if you watch baseball, you can see that the Padres might actually be more likely to win this series than you would think. But there is a reason why we got to play the games. Now, the 2 series that we're going to have in the National League coming up on Saturday, we already talked about one of them. It's going to be the Mets and the Phillies. That game is going to be at 4 o'clock. And the other National League series is the San Diego Padres and the LA Dodgers. In the American League, the Tigers are on the road taking on the Guardians. You got a Detroit, Cleveland matchup there. So, Michigan, Ohio, everybody loves that rivalry, whether it's college, NFL, now baseball. And the other American League series, the Kansas City Royals will head up to the Big Apple to take on the New York Yankees in the Bronx. Those are going to be some good games. Now, it looks like the Dodgers are going to be starting Yoshinobu Yamamoto, player that they acquired in the offseason, who is a very good pitcher, but they lost him for most of the season. He's been dynamite since he's come back, 7-2 during the regular season. Now, this is not with like a really large sample size, so there's not too much you want to take from this, but he did have an ERA of 3 and over 100 strikeouts in 90 innings pitched. 90 innings pitched on the year. That's not a lot. Relievers get more than that. Sometimes. 105 strikeouts, a whip of 1.11. Walks, hits per inning pitched. That's whip, walks, and hits per inning pitched. 1.11. Just over one player getting on base an inning for Yamamoto. We've seen under one. Remember when DeGrom, I don't want to go on a tangent, but remember when DeGrom was just dominating Major League Baseball for a Mets team that wouldn't score for him? And he ended up like, what was he, 12-10 on the year or something like that? It was terrible, but still won the Cy Young, which was well-deserved. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. The baseball season moving on. I'm excited. I haven't watched too much playoff baseball over the past few years. Last year I got more into it, but just in general because, the NFL is happening as well. There's other things that are happening too. So, the baseball playoffs are getting better. They're getting more interesting. I think that the parity in MLB this year is really going to make these last few series really entertaining. I would be surprised if we didn't see one of these 4 series go 5 games. And I would be really surprised if neither the championship series or the World Series does not go to 7 games, because all of these teams are so close to each other in the standings this year. Nobody was able to pull away and say, hey, we are the team to beat. It's going to be a really good end of the season. So if you're a baseball fan, start tuning in tomorrow. First game is at 1 o'clock. It'll be the Tigers on the road facing the Guardians. Then you have the Mets, Phillies, Royals, Yankees, and we'll end the night with the Padres heading to LA to take on the Dodgers. And like I said, the Dodgers are seemingly the favorite to win the championship this year, to win the World Series, I should say. Quick update on the NASCAR Truck Series race that's going on right now at Talladega. It is a playoff race for them. Grant Enfinger is leading with 10 to go in the stage, but as you know, it does not matter who's leading with 10 to go in the stage. Maybe a little bit, just a little bit. You do want that track position, but they are 3-3 right now in the truck race. If you're interested, Fox Sports 1 is who is covering that one. We did touch on it yesterday, but I do want to also reiterate while we do have a minute left here. Charlotte FC has clinched a playoff spot after their win Wednesday night. 4-3 was the final in that game. Charlotte FC moving on to the playoffs. It was getting scary for a minute. They were on a little bit of a downslide, trying to turn it around over the past couple of weeks. I think they're playing 500 since they got that win before this one. So hopefully, things get turned around as they head into the playoffs, which is only a couple of weeks away. Keep that in mind. We got to talk football. There was a Thursday night game last night, and wow, who would have thought it didn't stink? Right? I know. Don't go anywhere. We got to get into that. We'll talk some NFL and some other news, things going on when we get back. We're back after this.
Keep it right here. We'll have more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg in just a moment from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, for the first time in a long time, we don't really have much to talk about in the weather department. And boy, isn't that nice. Mainly dry for a long time. Partly cloudy. We're up around 80 this afternoon, falling back into the mid-60s overnight. Our weekend is a dry one, but it's a warm and humid one, too. With temperatures around 80, if not some low 80s both days. But if you've been in search of that crisp fall air, it's on the way early next week. It arrives by Tuesday. That's your forecast. From the WSIC Weather Center, meteorologist Chase Myers.
Attention, fellow conservative investors. What does the name Reagan mean to you? It stands for being the ultimate conservative. It also stands for the Reagan Gold Group. Do you see storm clouds approaching? The stock market hates uncertainty, and there are plenty of reasons to be concerned. High inflation, unstable debt, and economic uncertainty are just a few. You have car insurance, homeowners insurance, and life insurance. But do you have insurance for your retirement savings and your 401k? We urge all fellow conservative investors to learn about the one asset that could help ensure your nest egg doesn't crack under economic pressure. G-O-L-D, gold. Call the one name any conservative investor needs to know about. Reagan Gold Group.
800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. 800-296-1557. That's 800-296.
Drum Landscape Supply is the go-to spot for anything you need for your yard. Transform your landscaping. Drum Landscape Supply has trees, flowers, natural stone, custom blended grass seed, mulch, and more. Plus, they deliver. DrumLandscapeSupply.com.
Bob McIntosh here with the McIntosh Law Firm in Davidson. Serving this community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshlawfirm.com.
Have you taken the Desco Challenge? The people have spoken. Desco is where the professional goes for electrical supplies.
Hi, my name is Randy. I'm a general contractor, and I always trust the products at Desco.
See for yourself at DescoInc.com.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
If you have an upcoming event, let WSIC spread the word. Go to WSICnews.com and click on the Community Calendar button. WSIC, proud to be part of your community.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. When games in sports become one-sided in a blowout, it isn't uncommon to see players basically give up. It's understandable why this kind of surrendering is hard to watch and viewed as a bad thing in sports. However, we must also understand that there's actually a good kind of giving up and surrendering when it comes to following Jesus. When we fully surrender to God, we no longer hold on tightly to our own desires or concerns. Rather, we hand them over to God and trust Him with our lives. 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Give all your worries and cares to God, for He cares about you." Romans 12:1 says, "I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all He has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice." Today, let's realize it's a good thing to give up doing things our own way and in our own strength so that we can rely on God's power instead. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stocks today finished with new highs for the Dow. It added 341 points, or 0.8%. The S&P up 51, 0.9%. The Nasdaq gained 219, or 1.2%. Investors were encouraged by the fact U.S. hiring in September topped all estimates. Analysts expected a gain of about 150,000 jobs when 254,000 were actually added. The unemployment rate fell to 4.1%, and hourly earnings increased 4% from a year ago. Today's jobs report likely means the Fed will stick with more modest interest rate cuts since the economy is showing strength without the help. Also helping lift the markets today was the fact that ports are opening up after dock workers suspended their strike until January 15th so they can continue work behind the scenes on a stronger contract. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Now more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Hello, happy Friday, everyone. Halfway through the Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4 is the phone number if you have something on your mind that you want to bring up. Monitoring the Craftsman Truck Series race as we were under commercial there. Grant Enfinger is going to win stage number 2. Get some playoff points there as well. And we do want to talk a little NASCAR, and we're going to save that for the final segment of the show today. In the meantime, before we get there, we do want to let you know what happened in the world of the NFL last night. The Buccaneers, the Falcons at home in Atlanta. We had, this has got to be one of the best Thursday night football games we've had in recent memory, right? They're all duds. This one was not. This one featured offense, defense. It had everything. What more could you want? Overtime, long touchdowns. You had Kirk Cousins out there. Kirk Cousins threw 42 completions, 58 attempts, 509 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. Drake London for the Falcons had 12 catches for 154 yards and a touchdown. Darnell caught 2. Darnell Mooney, that is, even dropping a big one in that game as well. Cardell Hodge, we all know what Cardell Hodge did at the end of the game in overtime to seal the win and walk it off in overtime. Man, that was a good game, but I will say something. There is controversy the same way there always is in the NFL because the referees always want to be a part of the question, right? There was a holding penalty on the offense for the Buccaneers late in the fourth quarter when they were trying to just kick a field goal, waste time. Well, that holding penalty knocked them out of field goal range. The problem is that on the exact same play that there was a holding on the offense for the Buccaneers, the defense tackled the ball carrier with a face mask. The face mask was not called, so the only penalty on the play was the holding. Had they seen the face mask, had they called the face mask, it would have been offsetting penalties. Buccaneers would still be in field goal range, and honestly, they might win this game because you go into that final drive if you're the Falcons down 30-27, no timeouts and a minute left, right? That's right about where we were. So you know you're not really going for a touchdown. You got to get into field goal range. And man, credit to the Falcons for that final offensive play of the game where they threw the quick hitter. The runner got down. They got the ball spotted in time. Yes, the referee did spot the ball. He said that where the players put it down was the correct spot. Obviously, when you get into those late game situations, the spot is going to kind of be Didn't matter at the end of the day because Koo nailed the kick for the Falcons. And then in overtime, the Falcons get the ball, march down the field, and a big touchdown to win the game for Cardell Hodge, who broke free on that final play of the game. 45 yards on just a 5-yard route. But yet Cousins gets credit for all of those yards. And he broke away, man. He's got like 6 Buccaneers chasing him at the end of that play. That was some play. The Falcons moved to 3-2. The Buccaneers fall to 3-2. And like I said, it could be good for the Panthers. I don't know. Maybe they decide to win this weekend. I believe. Now let me make sure I understand where my predictions are lining up here. Yes, the Panthers are against the Bears. I don't know if they're going to win that game, to be honest with you. But if they do, they'll have 2 wins on the year. They'll be a game behind the team with the most wins. 1 game back with this team. Come on, it's a winnable division. All hope is not lost. We got the Red Rifle in there saving us now. So long, Bryce Young. It's Andy Dalton time in the Carolinas, baby. Yeah, playoff bound, right? Right? Maybe not. The team does still need a lot of work, but they look so much more competent as an offense and as a defense. Somehow the defense looks even better now with Andy Dalton in there. Maybe because they can drive the ball down the field and the defense can get adequate rest and they're ready to go the next drive. Just a little thought. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much smack on the Panthers. We love them in this area, even when they're having a terrible year or when they're terribly mismanaged. We still love them. Games coming up this weekend in the NFL that you might want to keep an eye on. The Jets and the Vikings are in action overseas in London on Sunday. That is a 9:30 kickoff, and it will be on NFL Network. Keep that in mind. Sunday morning, NFL Network is where the game will be seen. The Panthers are on the road taking on the Bears. That's a 1 o'clock game, obviously. We have a divisional matchup between the Ravens and the Bengals. That'll be a good one. One that I'm definitely going to have my eye on is this 1 o'clock game between the Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. The Bills have been one of the better teams in the AFC for years now. Well, a handful of years now. The Texans just emerging from the shadows of the fallout with Deshaun Watson, with CJ Stroud now leading them to victory, going to the playoffs last year, having a great start this year. Both of those teams 3-1. That is going to be a good one and one to keep an eye on. As far as the later games, you have a good Sunday night game this week with the Cowboys on the road taking on the Steelers. It feels like a Sunday night game with two fraudulent teams playing each other because I just don't feel like the Cowboys are that threatening. And I feel even less likely that the Steelers are going to be a threatening team come playoffs. So it's kind of a farce, just kind of watch it and say, all right, well, these teams are going to be, first round, second round exits in the playoffs. It's not going to go any farther than that for those two. And then Monday night, Saints Chiefs in Arrowhead. Of course, the Chiefs getting another Monday night game. And I believe the Manning cast will be back on this one because there is only one Monday night game. The downfall of that, and I'm starting to understand the thought process behind putting two games on Monday night. If one of them ends up being a dud, guess what? You have another game waiting for you. So if this one's a dud, we do not have another one waiting for us, unfortunately. So we'll see how that goes. For the Panthers on the road against the Bears, I think it's a winnable game, especially now that Dalton's in there. Honestly, I mean, does anybody think that Bryce Young is going to get another shot this year? Or is his Panther career over? Because the team doesn't look anywhere near as bad when Dalton's in there. Now, I'm not going to sit here and bash Bryce Young and say he's the worst quarterback of all time. No, he's been playing really poorly, and it is not fully on the team. It is on him as well. He has not played well. But look at Sam Darnold this year, man. Remember how terrible he was at the start of his career? Bounced around. He even played for the Panthers for a little bit. Now he's got the Vikings 4-0. 4-0 for Minnesota. And they're in London taking on the Jets. That's a winnable game. Darnold getting revenge against his old team. Maybe it's not the player. Maybe it's the franchise they're playing for. We see that with Jets quarterbacks, it seems. Darnold is now good. It also seems like everybody who the Panthers touched over the past couple of years turns really good. Baker's great now. Darnold's good now. I mean, things are, maybe once Bryce Young finds another team, he'll shine like the player we saw in college. But until then, I don't know if we're going to see him again. Long season, though. Obviously, injuries could happen. You never know. We got one more segment here on the scoreboard on this Friday. We're going to wrap it up with some NASCAR, some news, and things that happened on this day in history. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Well, for the first time in a long time, we don't really have much to talk about in the weather department. And boy, isn't that nice. Mainly dry for a long time. Partly cloudy. We're up around 80 this afternoon, falling back into the mid-60s overnight. Our weekend is a dry one, but it's a warm and humid one, too, with temperatures around 80, if not some low 80s both days. But if you've been in search of that crisp fall air, it's on the way early next week. It arrives by Tuesday. That's your forecast. For the WSIC Weather Center, meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here is your WSIC community calendar. Brookdale Village in Huntersville presents their free concert series Live Under the Oaks on Friday. The Village is open all day for shopping and dining, with Ben Gatlin taking the stage powered by Waves Entertainment at 6 p.m. Bring your chairs and enjoy on-site beverages from Red Rocks. Live Under the Oaks with Ben Gatlin kicks off at 6 p.m. Friday. The popular Piedmont Healthcare Friday After 5 concert series offers free entertainment to residents, neighbors, and visitors in downtown Statesville. This Friday, the Megan Doss concert will be held on West Broad Street in front of Mitchell Community College from 6 p.m. to 8:30. Beer, wine, soft drinks, and food will be available for purchase beginning at 5 p.m. Bring your chairs and enjoy a night of music from country singer Megan Doss at Friday After 5 in downtown Statesville. NASCAR returns to Charlotte Motor Speedway for their annual fall weekend in October on the Roval. The Xfinity Series holds the Drive for the Cure 250 on Saturday, October 12th. The Cup Series competes in the Bank of America Roval 400 on Sunday, October 13th. Weekend ticket packages as well as daily tickets are available. Also check out deals for military service members, college students, suites, the Champions Pavilion, the Indoor Clubhouse, Terrace Box, 4-packs, and more. Don't miss any of the entertainment, including Eli Young Band and Tim Duggar concerts before racing's royalty duels for Roval supremacy. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for information, tickets, and details. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays, October 5th through November 24th. Eat, drink, be merry at the Renaissance Festival. Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. Don't miss it!
Are you curious about the new development down the street? Wondering what's going on in your community? I'm Bill Russell, host of Town Talk. Join me each Wednesday afternoon, 4 to 5 p.m. here on WSIC as we chat with elected leaders, town staff, business owners, developers, and nonprofit leaders who are shaping our community. Town Talk, each Wednesday at 4 on WSIC.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
And we're back. Final segment. Final day of the week. I believe it's Friday. Yes, it is. I'm here for the next, I'm going to call it 11 minutes. So, if you have something on your mind, something you want to chat about, let me know. I'm here for you. 844-STUDIO-4. That's 844-788-3464. We're going to get into the world of NASCAR for this final segment. We haven't touched all that much, and I do not have any driver promos. I do apologize. I don't have them. They weren't given to me. So we're not going to hear from any drivers today, but we will talk about the NASCAR Cup Series, Race 2, Round 2 of the playoffs. How do the playoffs stack up, you might ask? Well, let's go over that. Let's go over the points, see where everybody's at. So following Kansas, Ross Chastain won that race. Yeah, Ross Chastain's not in the playoffs. Definitely should be, but he's not in the playoffs this year. So nobody after Kansas has clinched their way to the round of 8, which I think is going to be cool because everybody could be in and everybody could be out still. Maybe we get a non-playoff driver to win at Dega. That'd really make the Roval interesting, wouldn't it? William Byron tops the leaderboard right now with 34 points, so just keep that in mind. He is 34 points ahead. If he gets some stage points and then wrecks, he's not going to have a horrible day. But 34 points is not comfortable, especially going into Talladega. Ryan Blaney, 28 points, as is Christopher Bell, up 28 points on the cut line. Then you have Kyle Larson, 18 plus. Denny Hamlin, well, the number of his car is 11, and that's how many points to the good he is right now, 11 points to the good. Alex Bowman +8, and then you have Chase Elliott and Joey Logano both +4. Who's -4? Well, that'd be Tyler Reddick after the incredible run he had through the summer, starting to cool off a little. Some 20th place finishes there in the first round, but still a good driver, right? Still a good team, still a good car. I expect him to be in the mix on Sunday, as is Daniel Suarez, 14 points below the cut line. You never know. You know, he won Atlanta. It's a draft track, or Talladega. Get some stage points, maybe you get in the other side of that cut line. Then you have Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric, 25 points and 29 points out of the playoffs. I really don't think that there is any way you can predict what's going to happen at a Talladega race, but we've seen playoff drivers win this race in this round before. Probably most famously is when Joey Logano would come in here and win what felt like all the time, right? He'd clinch his way into the next round. Brad Keselowski would do that a lot. We've seen Ryan Blaney do it a few times in and out of the playoffs. So it's not out of the question that even in all the chaos that is Talladega, we see one of these playoff drivers win. I think it's going to be more chaotic than usual. Something about this race just tells me it's going to get crazy out there. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because the Super Speedway package with the slight adjustments that they have made to the car is slightly changing the way they drive. Remember when we were at Daytona, the conversation was, are they going to be able to pull out of line, run 3 wide, even when they're not saving fuel? Well, we saw it happen, and yeah, it actually worked. It's not like when they first started going to the super speedways in this car, where all we saw was 2x2 because nobody could make a third line work. And the only reason they could make a third line work is if everybody's saving fuel running half throttle. We didn't see that at Daytona. Everything ran like, a normal Daytona race, in my opinion. Talladega being a little bit bigger, I wouldn't be surprised if we get back to that 2x2, only 3 wide when we're fuel saving. But I think with the slight changes, like I said, they've made so many slight changes to the car to try and keep them from flipping over. Still changes the way they drive in the pack a little bit. Some extra fins on the roof and things like that. So I don't know what to expect, but I do think it is going to be crazy out there. This Sunday, the Yellowwood 500, 2 o'clock. It is a 2 o'clock race on NBC. They got it on the big stage today, or Sunday, I should say. Sunday on NBC. As for the Xfinity Series, I do want to cover this at least a little bit, let you guys know what's going on in there, because they are in their playoffs as well. As of the race after Kansas, Cole Custer is your leader of the points. We saw that Eric Almirola got the win by getting around Custer in the race on Saturday at Kansas. But interesting names here below the cut line. Justin Allgaier is 1 point below. AJ Allmendinger is 13 behind. Parker Klingerman 15 behind. Sammy Smith -23. Shane Van Gisbergen, I don't think it really matters, to be honest with you, what he does this round, because I feel like he is going to be really good at the Roval. Something about that racetrack, I don't know what it is, but I'm telling you, I think he's going to be really good at the Roval. So I do think he's going to at least win a race this round. But once we get into that final race, the final round, I should say, of the playoffs for the Xfinity Series, which is Las Vegas, Homestead, and Martinsville, that's when we're really going to see what SVG is all about. Is he going to be able to keep up with these guys? He's +8 right now on the playoffs going into Talladega. If he stays out of trouble and even just comes out a few points behind the cut line, I'd still expect him to make it to the next round, because we are going to a road course next week, and he has dominated the road courses in the Xfinity Series this year. So I don't worry too much about where he finishes if you're a fan of him. I guess the biggest thing is hope he stays out of trouble. If he stays out of trouble, he's going to probably do real good at Charlotte and really give himself a chance to make the round of 8. After that, it's kind of anyone's guess because it's Vegas, Homestead, Martinsville, and Phoenix to end the year. I don't think he's going to win a championship this year, but the fact that he was able to win 3 road courses and still put up fights at some super speedway races that we've had this year, at the 1.5 miles that we've gone to, it shows that he's going to actually be a viable competitor next year when he gets into the Cup Series car. And I'm telling you, once he figures out how to drive an oval, he's going to be good because the next-gen car is basically an Australian supercar. They're like carbon copy. Not really, but they're like really similar vehicles. Anyway, that's what we have going on in the NASCAR world. Like I said, truck race is currently going on. Tomorrow, Xfinity, and Sunday, it's the Cup Series. Do we have anything that I wanted to mention? Yeah, let's mention this with Tua Tagovailoa. The NFL is not going to be stepping in to mediate what happens with Tua, whether he returns or not. It is going to be a decision by the team, by the player, and by the doctors. The NFL is not going to be taking any steps in here. But I did see a very interesting mock draft where the Dolphins, at the number 2 overall pick, take Bama quarterback Jalen Milroe. You know how I feel about Alabama quarterbacks. Tua is an Alabama quarterback. Now, concussions aside, he's been pretty good when he doesn't get hurt. And I would not, and this is a debate, the injury-prone stuff, when you hear somebody is injury-prone, I don't consider getting concussions to be injury-prone. I just consider that either 1, bad form, or 2, bad luck. A couple of years ago, it was bad luck. This year, with the concussion he received, it's just a bad decision on Tua's part. You know, it's not like he made a cut and tore something in his leg. He put his head down and injured his head. That you can teach someone how not to do that. I know he's been trying to figure out how not to do that, but I don't think Tua is necessarily injury prone. It's just that he gets unlucky. He does. Oh, we got about 1.5 minutes remaining in the program today. So we got to do a couple of things that happened on this day in sports history. Starting with 2012, Michael Schumacher announces his retirement from racing at the end of the season. One of the all-time greats in Formula One announced his retirement on this day, 2012. In 2018, Tom Brady became only the 3rd quarterback in history to record 500 career touchdown passes. Here's an interesting one. The 500th touchdown went to Josh Gordon. Haven't heard that name in a while. Man, he was some talent. He just couldn't stay on the field. And if you know what Stephen A. Smith likes to used to say, I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm talking about. Lay off. That's all. Appreciate everyone tuning in this week. Next week, we have some guests coming into the show. We're going to do a few interviews, so that should be fun. Make sure you tune in for those. As far as the weekend goes, I don't know what you're going to watch. There's playoff baseball. There's playoff NASCAR. There's the NFL regular season. There's the WNBA playoffs. The NHL is happening. Figure it out. We'll talk it all about. We're going to talk about it Monday. See ya.